Shall we get started?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. All right. So tonight, Chris is going to go over Illustrator tips and tricks on how to make your characters not look like just plain old stick figures and give them some character to your character. There's your intro.
Thanks for the intro. First, I want to start off by asking the group. Thank you all for coming tonight. I hope we draw some fun guys tonight, fun guys and gals, and anything in between. I was wondering if, by show of hands, who here thinks that they cannot draw? Okay, so like half of you. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong and you can draw and we can do this together. So I was hoping, am I allowed to do the whiteboard thing? Or
do you want me to put it up?
Yeah, could you do that? Also, if anyone has like a pen and paper, pencil and paper around, get that out and we're gonna do a little exercise together and draw some characters real quickly. A really easy method of drawing a character. So also you can use your mouse. Don't do anything crazy, guys. We're just gonna follow the instructions I'm giving you. Don't draw anything gross. So this is the whiteboard feature. So if you just take your mouse and drag, you should just be able to draw something. Yep, hi Priscilla, perfect. So it's a little delayed here, but if you just take your mouse and drag, you can start drawing some shapes and stuff. But we're just going to use the pen right now. And we're going to start by drawing a character's face, like a cartoon face. So I learned this. It's pretty good, Brad. I was going to start off with, I learned this in a TED Talk not too long ago. So if you just follow my lead here and do it in your own, pick a corner, I'm going to pick the center top. And I'm just going to draw a nose. If it shows up. What am I doing wrong here?
What color are you?
Nobody took the middle.
The view options, annotate. Okay, here I am. Okay, I am light blue. Okay, so we're gonna start off by drawing a little nose like that. Okay, and then we're gonna draw some little sixes as eyes above the nose. Okay, cool. Then we're gonna draw an ear. Okay, and then we're gonna draw a little smiley mouth. Cool. And now we're going to draw some hair. Oh, wow. Everyone's really going at it. This is fun. Okay. And after that, you're going to draw a line from under the nose. Go whoop. And then under the ear, same thing. Whoop. And you got yourself a little character. And you can do this in a different amount of ways. You can make different shaped noses, different shaped eyes, different mouths, different ears, different hair. And just keep changing those features going in that same kind of method. And then you got yourself a nice character. Max, yours looks great. And everyone else's is looking really good too. That's a great one. Cool. Okay, so you guys all lied to me. You guys all can draw, as you just proved to me. So we're going to transfer this really simple face and take the methodology from it, and we're going to put it into Illustrator and try to make a stick figure a little bit more captivating, give it a personality, make it a real character. So we can get rid of the whiteboard. Cool, thank you. And I'll start sharing my screen. Okay, so from what I've seen, this is pretty much the character extent I've been witnessing as of recent. And I was wondering, what can we do to change this stick figure into like a more actual character? There's a thing in comic books called the silhouette test, where you have to be able to recognize the character by silhouette. And if I look at the silhouette, don't know what this person is. I don't know what they do. Do they paint on the weekends? Do they watch Game of Thrones? There's no way of me being able to tell that. So what can I get some suggestions in the chat perhaps of what I can do to this character to like give him some character?
Pirate hat.
Give him a hat?
Pirate hat.
A pirate hat. Okay, so I can do that. So first I'm going to go to my pencil tool. If you use the pen tool, I commend you. You are so talented and you work really hard. But I use the pencil tool because it's just what I've been using, and I think it's a lot easier to use. So the pencil tool, or quick hotkey N, you can hold down, and if it's not there, you should find it. And if you double click the pencil tool, you'll be able to pick how accurate or how smooth you want your strokes to be when you're using your mouse or trackpad, or if you have a Wacom tablet, that as well. So I know a pirate hat, I'm going to choose in the middle here. And I know a pirate hat has a nice kind of like a triad type thing going on. And it's more of a newspaper cap, but, and if I go to the pen tool and to the anchor point tool, I can change that into a, well, I should be able to, but it didn't work that time. Change the anchor point. So maybe I'll just make it a little bit more accurate so I can read my input a little bit better. Okay, so we have a lot of anchor points to mess around with if you want to smooth it out. There's also a smooth tool that Priscilla showed me. Thank you, Priscilla. And if you run it around some different lines, you should be able to smooth some of these lines out. I don't think it's entirely necessary, but it's nice to have. And we're gonna Shift X. It changes the stroke with the fill. So now it has no stroke, but it has a black fill. And we can start drawing a skull and crossbones on it. So I'm gonna just go over here. You know what? I'm actually gonna use my shape tool. So I'll use my ellipse tool. Draw that out. I'll make the fill like a off gray. And I'll get my rectangle tool. Like that. Put these over each other. So it's like teeth. And I'm going to use my Pathfinder tool to unite these. So they are now one. Oh, I didn't have them both highlighted, but if I have them both highlighted and hit unite, they're now one object. Now, if you don't have the Pathfinder tool, you can just go up to window and find Pathfinder and then just move the window into your little side scroll here. So unite that. And I'll add some circles for eyes. Okay. And to duplicate things, you hold down, click, Shift, Option, and just do it. And if you want to keep doing that, you hit Command D, Command D, Command D to continue to duplicate something if you want to do that. That can be handy later, maybe doing textures. And I think that's okay for skull and crossbones right now. Let's do a nice dog bone. Hit I to get the eyedropper tool. And so you can just take the gray from the skull and crossbones, make it a little bit bigger, hold Shift to make it bigger, Shift Option, move it over. I'm going to hold Shift while rotating it so it can just stick to the 45 degrees. I can make them cross. And I'm going to group these all together and hold Shift and make them small. Put on a nice hat. So what else I can do to this hat? And just maybe give it a nice like yellow trim around the edges. And I like to use the Draw Inside tool. So if I click on this, I get these options right here. And one of them is Draw Inside. So now if I click this, any stroke I make around this area, it will only show up inside the hat. So I'm going to change my stroke color to like this gold yellow. And I'll just like maybe give it a little trim. All right. Okay, not perfect, but you can always add more. And also you can make the stroke bigger. Okay, and that is my quick pirate hat that I can now place on this guy. And I'm gonna put it on a different layer because you gotta keep your layers organized, people. And also to make things easier, you can also there we go. Highlight all of these and then hit group. So now you can move them all around. They'll click one part of it and they'll all move around. So a pirate hat is definitely a telling feature. What else can we do to this pirate that would make him more piratey?
I have a question and not a suggestion.
Go, Nick.
Oh, and there goes my camera again. When you have things in a group like that, if you want to like break it out so every layer is its own thing, do you know a shortcut to do that quickly, or is that like a more involved process?
To break it up like really quickly, I just know to highlight it and hit ungroup, or you can just, if you're in your layers panel, just hit the drop down.
Okay.
And you can pick what you need. But as for like, if you want to just click one thing, you can just double click something and you can isolate it.
Okay. Yeah, the only reason I ask is I was doing some stuff with Illustrator into After Effects, and before I had Overlord, bringing it in only brought in like your groups, and you'd have to split everything out, and I was given assets that had a lot of stuff, so I didn't know if you knew.
Yeah, but
Shortcut.
the Illustrator workflow to After Effects, everything has to be on its own layer from my, if like else, yeah, to move individually, they have to be on their own layer. Also, I think strokes have a tough time in After Effects.
okay.
You can like convert them into, you can't really convert them into shape layers if you want to. So if you are doing like a character, like say you wanted this lovely snake to be imported into After Effects, I would click on this, and because I don't think you'd be able to convert this to a shape layer because it's a stroke. You'd highlight it, hit object, go to path, and then outline stroke, and it turns it into a shape instead.
Oh, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's also super helpful if you're using the draw inside tool. Sometimes if I did bring in this pirate hat into into After Effects, maybe the stroke from the gold trim wouldn't make it. So maybe I would want to change that into a shape rather than a stroke. Cool. Anyone else have any questions or suggestions of what to do to this pirate without a face or, anything?
Pirate beard.
Pirate beard. Cool. So I'm just gonna make him scruffy with the pencil tool. All right, and brown beard, okay?
Sure.
I'm not crazy about this, about the way this looks right now, but also it covers his mouth. So I think what I want to do is I'm gonna make another shape similar to the scruffy beard, like for a hole for his mouth, maybe. And because I have the pencil on accurate, I get all these anchor points that you can manipulate, which I won't right now. But I will move this on top of the beard. Let me make sure it's in front. Yeah, it is. Okay. Well, I'll give it a stroke just so I can see it. And now if I select this shape and the beard, I'm going to go to my Pathfinder tool again. I'm going to hit minus front. So now I can, now there's a hole inside this beard shape. And now I can still draw a mouth while having the beard. Priscilla.
I have a question. So what is the difference between the Pathfinder tool and the shape builder tool?
They're very similar. So the shape builder tool, I'm just gonna build a ridiculous shape. I don't know what that is.
Guinea
Here we
bear.
go. How about that? Okay, so like say I wanted to make, well, I don't really want this to be round, I want this to be like silver. So I wanted to make this into a moon. So like I could do the Pathfinder tool, or if I highlighted both of these, went to the shape builder tool, I can choose what I want to separate from that. So if I did, oh wait, is that what happens? Is it this scribbling out? I think maybe my tool is confused. I think if you want to unite stuff, if you have them highlighted and then click the Pathfinder tool, you can click what you want to be added to the shape and that will unite into something.
I think it's Alt click to remove, or Option for Mac users to remove a shape part. Is it different from the path? Like, is it just another way to do what the Pathfinder does, or are they like, I
Yeah,
don't know, is there like a vector raster thing that happens, or?
I'm not entirely sure about the raster effect, but I know that I'm using the Pathfinder tool because the shape builder tool, I think is more complicated to use in my use of it. I know there's also like there's a different tool where you can make shapes and cross things out to make a different shape. But you can just use the Pathfinder tool for all. I think it's all inclusive, the Pathfinder tool, with hole punching, dividing, and like uniting as well.
Yeah, I
Cool,
think
cool.
the shape builder tool is like additive or subtractive for paths, where Pathfinder operates like booleans, like
Oh,
intersect.
Boolean.
Yeah,
Booleans.
booleans, like in 3D.
They're
but
spelled
actually-
Boolean, but they're
Boolean.
pronounced Boolean. So I keep thinking they're like soup cubes, you know, like soup Boolean cubes.
Boolean, yeah.
I
Yeah,
did think that.
Boolean. Yeah, this is so hard. But thank you. I think I'll use the Pathfinder because I feel like it's quicker.
It's great.
Cool. How do we feel about this square body? Do we love it? Are we keeping it?
Pirates come in all shapes. Just,
I feel like he's got to be a little fat,
yeah.
I
Living
think,
high on the hog.
round.
I
Maybe.
think a successful pirate is a fat pirate. And I think this guy's a successful pirate. So we are going to click on this torso. And again, I think I would usually want to build the body using like different shapes and then using the Pathfinder tool to kind of unite them, and then using the direct tool to like maybe manipulate these curves right here. That's a little bit more like barrel chested, so I'm going to flip it around. And we're gonna give this pirate a figure.
Seems friendlier now.
Much friendlier. Should we give him a face? No.
That might make him too friendly.
Here.
Faceless pirate. Sounds like an indie band, doesn't it?
It does. So circle eyes, I wouldn't say that they don't exist. I think circles are kind of like eyes, but I like to manipulate the eyes a little bit more to be like an egg shape or maybe an almond shape. Also, you can make eyes whatever shape you guys, whatever they want. I mean, if you want to do like 2 lines, that's like a kind of a friendly, like low res pirate right there. You can make its eyes close together.
Either way.
If you want to make them friendly, you can maybe do something like that with like he's smiling, because when you smile, your cheeks rise and block your eyes a little bit. Yeah, I don't really like that.
The fully exposed iris makes him like happy but really alert.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna turn these into shapes, and And then I'm going to unite them. So it's now an enclosed shape. And let's give them like, yeah, you know, I'm not really crazy about these eyes, I'll be honest. So I'm gonna give them the cartoony, just like, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I know what I'm gonna do. Some nice ovals. And then inside those ovals, I'll give him some white ovals to give him some like reflection into his eyes. If you make him too big, he'll look blind, but this kind of is like a cartoony anime almost kind of way to make eyes with like some sparkles. And then I'm just gonna shift option, let's move it over. So now he has two eyes. Now he's kind of cute a little bit. I think I want to give him a big nose. Okay. How is everyone okay with a peg leg? Let's make this fill
Yes to peg leg.
Okay. Pencil tool, making this soft. It's kind of a fat peg leg, but that's okay. And I've hit I, and I can get the same brown from over there. And for this leg, I'm just gonna manipulate some circles like this. I'll make this a little bit longer. And I'll send these to the back. Arrange, send it back. I'll make this fill. I guess this is on a different layer. That's why you got to organize your layers. Okay. How about we give him a shirt? How does like a red and white striped shirt sound? It's a little Parisian, but I think that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the torso, go to this draw inside tool again, and I'm going to hit this ellipse tool. So now this ellipse will just show up inside of the torso. And then inside that, I'm going to get my brush tool. Yeah, I'll get the brush tool. And I'm going to draw inside the shape that's inside the torso. So I can draw inside, get my brush, make it nice red. I'll get the stroke up. Now, for some reason, maybe one of you can help me with this. Whenever I want to change the stroke before drawing, whenever I do a mark, it always comes out at one point and then I have to change it again. Does anyone know why that happens?
I don't know why it happens, but if it makes you feel better, it does that to me too. And it does that if I change the color or the
That's right.
type of stroke cap. And I think that's just an Illustrator thing. If you go into default options, you might be able to change it.
Okay, maybe that's the
But
problem.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, because I made this nice ellipse to follow his belly, to make it a little bit more 3D, because like it comes out, I'm gonna follow that kind of line with this stroke. Not the best, but I can manipulate anchor points a little bit. And I'll turn that into a object as well. And I'm just gonna option shift that up. And then if I hit Command D, it should just keep doing that until it goes all the way up. And let's get rid of that ugly thing. All right, so we give him a striped shirt. I'm going to color his face in like some flesh color because the white is kind of freaking me out a little bit. Sure, that pink should do nicely. Stroke on that. Now, because I already drew inside this torso, if I click on this, it's going to be, am I drawing on the outside shape or the inside content? So I want the outside shape. I'm going to go to the fill and make it, oh no, that's not what I wanted. So if you double click, there you go. So now I'm on the outside and I'm going to change the contents to that. It's looking a little rough, but you know what? Characters look rough in real life, so I think that's okay. I think I'm going to draw out this circle head with the direct selection tool and pick this anchor point and draw it down a little bit. So it looks like his mouth is, you know, coming out a little bit more. I'm going to send this to the back. All right, let's give him a nice creepy smile. That's nice. What I like to do with like eyes and some of the strokes that get messed up, if you're using the pencil tool or something. So maybe I wanted to smile. Looks really rough. I'm going to change that to a smoother experience. But if you double click the stroke or just regular click the stroke, the caps, you can round them out or square them off. So I like to round them off. And then also I want the corners to be rounded. So it looks, I think it looks a little bit nicer that way rather than a squared off stroke. We have to give the guy ears. Well, we didn't have to, but this parrot's gonna have ears. Okay, how are we doing on time? Doing okay. Okay, so I've showed you a lot of the tools. I know this guy is not the prettiest, but pirates usually aren't that pretty, so I think that's okay. But I want to get to show you some tools with color. So what I like to do when choosing colors, I'm going to stop my share real quick and go to my browser. And start sharing again. Okay, so this is Adobe Colors. So if you look up Adobe Color, Google it, it'll pop up. And this is a nice tool I like to use to pick out my color schemes when making characters, because if you want it to be like a little bit more cohesive. So they have all these different color relationships over on your left, and you can choose the main color if you want. So maybe ours was red, so you can just copy the hex number if you want. And you can manipulate this to get a nice analogous color scheme. Now you can move these around, and you can see on the top left what your color scheme would be. And you can go against the different color relationships. You can play with the hue, you can play with the amount of red, GB, or whatever. And they also have accessibility tools. So if you're designing a UX for maybe colorblind people, or designing a character that you want colorblind people who are colorblind to be able to see well and pick out different details and stuff, this will tell you if there are any conflicts, and it'll show you what the best representation that they can do right now, or like what kind of color blindness and what they will see. So right now this has no conflicts, but say if it was like they're all kind of grouped together, it will show you A and D are in conflict, move the swatches on color wheel to make colors distinct. And
Those are exactly the same.
Yeah. Are you colorblind, Nick?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go. So you would have to move these to a different, and if any of these lines in the circle like overlap with a circle, another circle, then you should move it in order for tell people with colorblindness. So now those should look different, right, Nick?
Kind of.
Kind of. Okay. But
Different enough.
They are similar, so that's okay. That's a really good tool to use. There's also a website called Coolers, which is literally just a color palette website. So you go to look up Coolers, go to generate. You can explore different color schemes here. Hit generate. And it just comes, hit spacebar, and it just keeps making up different color schemes for you to use. And they have the hex numbers. They have a nice copy hex button for you to use. You can drag the color to a different spot to get a better idea of what you want it to look like. That's also a very helpful tool. But if you're using Adobe Color, it's really nice when you're using Adobe Illustrator, you could save this color palette. Yeah, sure. So I want to save to my library, and I was having some color schemes for my project. So I want the correct naming use. So scene 1, shot 1, name of the project. I will save it to my library. You can enter some tags as well if you want, if you have a ton of color palettes you're using. And I'll hit, I'll do 20, and I'll hit save.
I think half the people here haven't taken VFX, so they don't know shot names.
Oh, okay. So when you're working on a project, a larger project, when you want to label different shots, you come up with a 4-letter name for your project. So my name is called SideQuest Excalibur. So SQEX. Underscore 001 is the first scene, and then underscore whatever shot number it is. So like shot 1, shot 2, shot 3. And so in order for this to be shot 2, it's 0020. And I can change it to 0021 if later on I add a shot, or I can change it to 0022 as it keeps changing. That's just the naming convention that's used. But yeah, so I'm going to save it as that naming convention. I'll go back to Illustrator. So I'll share my Illustrator now. So if I go to my color swatches, I go to this little like share kind of looking networking symbol, open color themes panel. And you'll usually start on explore. And you just go to my themes, and it should be on all libraries. And there's my color palette right there. So sometimes it's useful to just like, I like to make my circles like on my color swatch. I'll show you like for this character, I had all my color swatches on the left, so I can just put it into whatever parts of the character I wanted to use. That's a very helpful tool. I totally recommend that you guys use it. And then I think
You want to mention that if it's not on the artboard, it won't come into After Effects kind of stuff.
if it's not on the artboard, it won't come into After Effects.
Yeah, usually if it's like not on the, if it's like
Oh.
off to the side.
Yeah, it has to be on the artboard. It has to be visible. So if you have like I have this piece of paper here, if it was invisible, it wouldn't be. Well, is that true? Because I think I've had invisible layers come into, but I think they do need to be on the artboard in order to be transferred into After Effects.
As I'm saying,
So-
if you have your color palette like off the artboard.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I did here.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I think maybe next we can do some like gradients and textures. Okay, so I know what I can do here. So to add some more detail to this jolly pirate guy, we are going to add some text, a gradient to his nose to give him like a nice rosy nose. So we can click on the nose, and over on the left, you can see gradient, and we're gonna do that. And we're gonna double click on this white panel. You can also add more into your gradient if you really wanted to. We're not going to, but if you want to do like a rainbow, you totally could. Command Z is your best friend. All right, so I'm gonna make this into like I'm gonna turn into like a red. That's a little too deep of a red. Okay, we're gonna keep it. And then we're gonna click on this one. We're gonna make this guy the flesh color. And then we're just gonna move the gradient, and you can see the preview over to the left, and that the tip of the nose gets a little bit more rosy. And because it's more rosy, there's more contrast there. So maybe you can like lower the stroke down a little bit to match maybe the strokes that are around the rest of the body. So what is 3? So we can make this 3. The ears 3. Okay, I think it's coming along. We can add a stroke to the beard too. Yeah, sure. Okay, maybe we can add a gradient or texture to the beard. There are a few ways to do this. One, what we're doing before, drawing inside and just etching some textures with the brush. I mean, a tried and true form of adding texture is just adding some strokes. Maybe it looks like he has stuff in his beard, so maybe it's not the best one, but that is absolutely possible to like adding etching and stuff. I think what else we could do is maybe add drawing inside, maybe like doing some highlights or gradient. So maybe I'd go to a lighter brown. And that's black, make it lighter brown. And let's make my stroke a little bit bigger. And we can just kind of do this around the top, a little bit on the side. Actually, maybe I can just do the whole thing highlighted and have this shadow on the side. Okay, so by adding a bunch of highlight, I added shadow. And I think to add some texture to this, I learned how to make a brush. So to make a brush, you can make a bunch of little shapes in the shape of a circle. And I did this previously. I made a bunch of little shapes. You can do like little squares, you can do like little gradiented circles. I just came up with like this kind of like animal print almost type deal. And if you highlight this, you're gonna go to window, you're gonna go to brushes, and you're gonna add a new brush. And we're gonna do a scatter brush because you're making a pattern out of these already little vector circles. Scatter brush 1, I think that's a lovely name, so we'll keep that. The size, we're gonna hit random and just add some more like sporadicness throughout this. You can change this from like 90% to 100%. So there's gonna be some different sized like particles in that brush to make it look more natural. The spacing, we're gonna change to 20% because sometimes it's too heavy. It'll look like a marker, even though you have a bunch of little dots there. You wanna make sure it's not just a direct full-on streak. And rotation, I don't know why, but people seem to change it on opposite ends. So it gets more randomized, I believe. So every stroke looks a little bit different. And you'll hit OK. And if you go to your brush, you should be making your own brush there. So it kind of looks like bugs. I'm not crazy about this brush. You can change it the way you want, but if you want to add texture to the beard, maybe change this to like a darker brown. Double click, I'll draw inside. Beard. Get out my brush that has the textured brush I just made. No.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this what you did for your tree that we saw today in class?
I didn't use this brush for that tree. I think I just made my own markings. But I know for the cave, I did use like this brush that's listed right here and just went at it at the walls to add some different texture to it.
Interesting. Thank you.
All right, I think because I did so much highlight in the beard already that it's making it a little bit difficult to, there we go, that should work. That's not the right brush. Okay, make it reddish brown. Okay, that's okay. So now he's got some texture in his beard. Also a great way to add texture is just scribble, scribble, scribble away. And I think that's a totally fine thing to do. I think for this peg leg, we can add a gradient if you wanted to. Pick a dark brown and a light brown. And we'll just move that over a little bit. So add some highlight on there. And if you wanted to add like, maybe he takes off his hat and he has a little bald spot on his like a shiny bald head. We're gonna again draw inside, and I like to make sure I'm on the right brush. Okay, I should be. I like to draw with like white in a large point size. Maybe do like a little circle around thing like that. And then I'm just going to change that opacity to like maybe 10. And you can do the same with shadows as well, when you can like make it a dark brown or a black or a blue and just change the opacity down to like 15, 20%. And it just adds a little bit of highlight to his shiny head. And maybe we can add a little star tool. Little shiny spot. Ding. All right. Points. So like this is not a good leg. Don't do this leg. I'll probably do like a ellipse tool. And if I use my direct selection, now I'm using my setup is an Essentials Classic. Let's see, how do I? Yeah, so if you go up here, I'm using Essentials Classic. So like some people like different layouts. I think this is the one I've been working, so maybe it would pop up if you use it that way. Pen tool. So where you see the pen tool, you hold click, and then usually the add anchor point tool is there. And you can add some anchor points onto the circle, so you can directly move them with the direct selection tool. So I can highlight these two, like move them up a little bit. These guys I can move up a little bit with the arrow keys, and these guys I'll move down a little bit. Oops. And then I'll just shift option, drag that down. I can just shift option and make it a little bit smaller, and maybe I'll drag it out. And that's kind of how I'd make a leg where it comes in at the knee a little bit. And if you wanted to like add a little drop shadow here to like imitate a knee. I don't really like that. But I hope, does that make sense? Because like it gives it an organic shape rather than like a rectangle.
No, you definitely kind of use shapes to make it more realistic rather than just straight like objects.
Depending on what you're going for. Like Corey's pointy legs, I like, but I think his character's like an alien kind of thing. So
Great.
Cool.
I think we're done.
Cool. I hope that was helpful for
Thanks, Chris.
here.
Learned a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Yep, that was awesome.
Got a lot of useful stuff out of that.
Cool.
Cool. So next week.